Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Minnesota Real Estate Show. Hope your Saturday is starting off well. It is April the 20th, 2024, and we're here for the Minnesota Real Estate Show every Saturday morning. This is a local real estate show hosted by Mr. Mike Overson, Luminate Home Loans. In studio today, Scott Wolmering, myself, Ryan O'Neill, with the Minnesota Real Estate Team, RE/MAX Advantage Plus. In studio, excited to have Jim Tobias with SureTech as well. And again, thanks for joining us wherever you might be seeing us on social media. This is a fun show, an interactive show. We welcome your questions, comments, thoughts, any point at all. 612-294-6949 is how you can join us. 612-294-6949. A lot going on. Mike, good morning to you. Good to see you, bud.
Hey, good morning to you, Ryan.
Good morning. And Jim Tobias. Jim, thanks for being here. Jim's with StructureTech, one of our great partners at mnrealestateshow.com. Appreciate you being here, bud.
Thank you. Good morning.
Yeah, we're going to have a fun time, fun show, and a lot to talk about today with the real estate market, interest rates. Mike, you've got your Celsius there, so you're ready to go.
I'm ready to go. Yep. Hasn't quite kicked in yet, but we've got one more minute, so I think it'll be kicking in and ready to go here.
Kicking in and ready to go. Yeah. And first segment, we always do a little real estate update just to give you a snapshot on mortgage rates on the local market. And we're getting ready to go live on air right now. Again, it's on News Talk 830 WCCO. Hope your Saturday is starting off well. Here we go, guys. Well, good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Minnesota Real Estate Show. Thanks for joining us, and hope your Saturday is starting off well. This is the Minnesota Real Estate Show here on WCCO every Saturday morning. It's from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. We are a local real estate show hosted by Mike Overson of Luminate Home Loans, Scott Wolmering, and myself, Ryan O'Neill, of the Minnesota Real Estate Team and RE/MAX Advantage Plus. Thanks for tuning in. Grateful for you doing that. And again, interrupt us at any point. 612-294-6949. 612-294-6949 by phone, text. Mr. Mike, good morning. Good to see you, buddy.
Hey, good morning to you, Ryan.
Always a pleasure. Mike Overson, Luminate Home Loans. They are also a local bank, Luminate Bank, right here in the Twin Cities. Our team, the Minnesota Real Estate Team, we've had the good fortune of working with Mr. Mike and team for a long time. Appreciate everything you're doing, bud.
Yeah. Thanks, Ryan. Shameless plug for our bank. I'm not on the banking side. I'm on the mortgage side of things, but on the banking side, we our Radiant savings account is still paying out 5% APY right now.
Yeah.
And it looks like that's going to continue now for the foreseeable future here. So we do have very good APYs on our checking and savings accounts now. So if you're looking for that small, like local bank feel here in Minnesota, we're your spot for sure.
Yeah. Again, 612-294-6949 is how you can join us at any point here throughout the show. The first segment of the show, we always do like to do a real estate and a mortgage update. Mike, interest rates. Tell us what's cooking. What happened this past week?
Well, we were talking before the show started here. Interest rates are all driven by inflation right now. We were talking about if we go back to the COVID days. I said basically COVID is the only reason why we have interest rates down in the 2.75 to 3% range. As soon as you stop hearing about COVID in the media and the news, and it becomes kind of just something of quote unquote the past, our rates are going to go up. And sure enough, early February we had, early of 2022 we had rates at 3% still. By October of 2022, rates were at 7%. Everything's now is inflation. So I just tell people, it's like, watch inflation. If news around inflation is good, our interest rates are going to come down. If news around inflation is bad, our interest rates are going to go up. That's the main driver right now. So if we look at the last 2 weeks, there's been a couple reports of inflation that have come out that basically compares month after month. So it compared basically February to March, right? So the February to March comparison always comes out in the middle of April. So they can see how the 2 months compare to each other, and did inflation get better? Did it get worse? That type of stuff. Well, inflation was not on the track that they wanted it to be. And that's what caused this slide of interest rates kind of sliding up. So we go back a couple weeks, we were sitting in the mid sixes. We're looking now at, in the low sevens right now as far as interest rates go.
Yeah, again, from inflation standpoint, again, just not so great numbers. I think the stock market too reacted pretty negatively this past week. Mike, when we look at real estate numbers here, so interesting in the Twin Cities, as you know, for those that have maybe caught the show over the years, we've really been seeing a shortage of inventory of homes for sale in the Twin Cities. So this past week, we have a positive in new listings. So there were 1,383 new homes that went on the market. That's up 32% year over year. So that's the largest increase, year over year increase we've seen in a while. Pending sales or accepted purchase agreements were just down slightly, a little less than 1%. So kind of flat, 892 pending sales. And then the inventory also increased year over year, 7,048 homes for sale in the Twin Cities metro area. That's up 13.4% year over year. So again, looking at that, Mike, when we're looking at new listings up pretty significantly. Still we're seeing an issue with inventory. Just buyer need emails every day, every week. I'm getting 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 buyer need emails, not only from agents on the Minnesota real estate team, but our friends at all the different brokers in the Twin Cities saying, hey, I've got a buyer. They're looking in Plymouth up to 500,000. They need this. Does anybody have anything? Help me.
Right. Yeah. And I'm curious to get Jim's, I got a quick question here for Jim, because he doesn't get the market stuff daily, right? So Jim, the number of listings that we have right now in the market is 7,048 homes. Okay. So what does that mean out there? If you had to take a guess, if you look at the 11 county metro area, right, how many listings would we need in order to have what's called a balanced market? So like even number of buyers and sellers out there.
What number would I guess?
Yeah. Like how many listings do you think?
I have no idea.
So, and most people don't, then that's
Yeah.
kind of why I'm asking you, because you're kind of out there. Just throw a number out there.
Oh gosh, I'd imagine I have to be double that. I mean, just knowing the tone and climate of the buyers when I meet them, how hard they had to work to get to a point of making an offer, getting an offer accepted. They're busting their butt. The agents are working like crazy. So if I thought, well, if you had double the inventory, then maybe that would take that much pressure off. I guess I'd have to guess double.
Yeah, that's pretty close. Yeah, I think Scott always says like 16 to 18,000 listings would be an equal market, equal numbers of buyers and sellers. So we have 7,000 listings right now, right? So what does that mean for a seller? You're still sitting really, really good out there as a seller, because there's plenty of buyers out there looking at that. You're going to get your house sold. It's still going to be sold pretty quickly for a good dollar amount, as long as it's marketed correctly and things like that.
Yeah, before the break here, and again, you're welcome to join us at any point. 612-294-6949, 612-294-6949, or on social media. I got a lot of folks joining us. Thank you. Thank you for that. Just the last quick thought on the market update is more stuff happening in our market. If you are a buyer, you are a seller, especially compared to last year, there's a lot more good happening in our market. Last year was a pretty down year, really, for everybody in the industry. This year, we're seeing more stuff happening. More people are moving for a lot of different reasons we can talk about. Again, appreciate you joining us on the Minnesota Real Estate Show. Local show. We're down here at CCO with our friend Dennis leading the charge. We'll be back after the break. Hey, good morning, everybody. Thanks on social for joining us. Saw a couple posts. Sorry about that. If the notification didn't come through, I'm not sure what that's all about, Pete. But thank you for letting us know. That is we use a service called Restream. And so once we go live on Restream, it syndicates out to all the different platforms. So, so good morning. Thanks for joining us. Jennifer Ritzman, good morning. Thank you so much. Mr. Mark DePonte, fellow agent broker, says, can I be a guest? I love this. We would love to have you on sometime, Mark. That would definitely be fun. Melissa Martinez, good morning. She says, everybody, it's going to be a great day. Jen Dane, good morning to you. Thank you so much for joining us. So we appreciate it. This is an interactive show. Again, we got Jim Tobias with us today from Structure Tech, carrying the torch for his dear brother-in-law, Ruben. Ruben, and so you're married to Ruben's sister.
I am married to Ruben's sister. Yep.
Yeah, super fun, and we're happy to have you here. Structure Tech again is one of our partners. Obviously, they do. Everybody knows them. They do a ton of great home inspections here in the Twin Cities. We're going to be diving into his segment here after the break. Mark DePonte says, "I love Structure Tech." Craig Hillier, good morning to you, Craig. Thanks for joining us, Mike. People, we were saying a little bit more people are moving. Things are happening.
Yes.
People are settling in with interest rates. Maybe talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, it's just weird. It's the new norm, right? It's weird coming out of when we had rates around 3% for way too long, right?
Sure.
So if you need to be riding this line to be steady, and all of a sudden you're down here for interest rates for a couple years, how long do you have to be up here for a couple years before you kind of reset, right? And
Sure.
everything kind of balances back out and gets squeezed back to the middle. That's what we're in the middle of now. We've had rates, in this 7% range-ish since October of 2022. So we're 18 months into it.
Yeah.
So, we'll have to see what happens later this fall and stuff like that. The election is always something that can change the game, right? You never know what's going to happen with that. So as we get closer to the election, there could be, some, difference maker that comes out of that. But if you look over the last 40 years and you take the average 30-year fixed rate over the last 40 years, that average is 8.25.
Yeah. I think we were thinking today we might dive into politics. We thought that would just be really a nice show. I mean, that we don't get enough of it already.
Right.
Flipping on TV.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm sure we'll see our listenership go down, but quickly. But good point though, Mike. People are kind of settling in.
Yeah, it's settling in, and it's the new norm, and you can never sustain interest rates down around 3. I mean, that's just something that's not sustainable. You just can't do it. So, so we're obviously just going to be going back to what we consider normal. Do we see rates still coming down later this year? Yeah, absolutely. I still see it coming down. Now, are they going to go down into the 5s? Probably not. But if we can get rates by the end of this year down to 6 flat, I think we'd be doing really good.
Yeah, a lot of people are saying, why are people moving? And I think again, we've talked a little bit about it. Life is just starting to happen. Eventually, even if somebody's got a low rate that they got during COVID, people get married, people get divorced, people have kids.
Change jobs.
Unfortunately, we die. We were talking to Jim. Jim's dear wife is a hospice nurse. And I said, what a wonderful type of person to marry. Such a caring type of person. But here we go. We're going back live on air on CCO. Thanks for joining us, everybody. Hey, top of the morning to you here at WCCO. Appreciate you joining us. This is the Minnesota Real Estate Show. We're local, we're live, we're down at CCO, downtown Minneapolis here, and we always enjoy talking about the real estate market and getting any thoughts, feedback, questions from you, the CCO listeners. 612-294-6949, 612-294-6949. Again, talking with Mike Overson, Luminate Homes, Jim Tobias with Structure Tech. Mike, just kind of wrapping up that interest rate segment. Again, talking about inflation. People were hoping for a rate reduction by this point from the Fed. It hasn't happened. You said maybe there might potentially be something coming down the road. But at the end of the day, this is it is what it is for the real estate market, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, it is. No one has control over the rates. You can't just dial up, I'm gonna flip this switch and then rates are going to be lower and everything's going to be great. There's hundreds of factors that go into it, right? Economic factors, this and that, blah, blah, blah. So, but we're going back to more what's a norm, right? So we're talking here, the average 30-year fixed over the last 40 years is 8.25. We're sitting in the low sevens right now. So everything is just fine. Sellers, you're still in a really good position. Buyers, you're actually not sitting bad either, to be honest with you, if you do look at the historical rates. So just, it's going to come and go. And this is just a little wave where it's up. You know what? In a couple of weeks, we might be talking about mid sixes again, and all this is in the past.
Yeah, again, we had a text message question come in. This one just said, I am a home buyer looking to purchase, wondering when I do close, should I get an owner's policy of title insurance? Can you guys talk about that a little bit? Yeah, so good question. So when you're buying a home, you have a choice at closing whether or not to get what they call an owner's policy of title insurance. It's not required, but essentially what that is doing is when you're making that upfront payment at closing, at the time of closing, it is ensuring your ownership interest in the property. I am a big proponent of getting title insurance for a lot of different reasons. But there are some buyers that will say, hey, you know what? I want to save the money, Mike. I'm not gonna do it. But unfortunately, what I've seen over the years is sometimes things happen. Maybe there's an ownership interest from a late aunt or uncle who shows up into the picture, or a variety of different things that can happen. And I think having an owner's policy, Mike, can protect you, whoever the title company might be that you're closing with. Thoughts on that to share?
Yeah, I mean, it's, there's a lot of humans that touch a real estate transaction, and we all make mistakes along the way. So, even if someone doesn't record something correctly at the county, you know what I mean? Or a name is misspelled somewhere, and, and then you get into some goofy situations like that. Although it's rare that an issue like that comes up after closing, it can still come up. And usually a title fix is not cheap.
Yeah.
Some of the clients that I have worked with that did have a title issue pop up after closing, I know one had title insurance, an owner's title policy, and the one didn't. The one that didn't reached out to me, and I was just curious, like, hey, I'll help you along this way, but just keep me posted on kind of how this thing shakes out. I think the bill was over $5,000 to get that title thing fixed.
Yeah.
And so that's where he really would have wished he would have paid like the $400 or whatever that cost was going to be for that title insurance. But again, it's like any other title. It's like any other insurance. You're going to pay for it and probably never use it again, which is great. But as soon as you don't pay for it, now you're going to want it or need it, and then you wish you would have bought it.
Yeah, I had a question come in. Craig Kruger on social media. Thanks for joining us, Craig. Said, guys, are you seeing fewer homes purchased for rentals and flips due to rates and labor costs to repair the properties? Mike, do you have any initial thoughts? I definitely have some thoughts.
Are there less? I would say, yeah, there's probably less, but are there still opportunities out there? Absolutely. I still know a lot of people that are buying homes and rehabbing them and selling them and flipping them.
Yeah, and we do, our team, the Minnesota Real Estate Team, we do a seminar every month. It's called our Investment Property 101, where I share some of my personal experience over the last 23 years of being a landlord, a small landlord here in the Twin Cities. One thing we talk about is fixing and flipping. Fixing and flipping, this may seem really obvious to everybody listening, but there's three variables. You have to buy it correctly, so not pay too much for it. You have to know what you're going to put into the property. So in other words, don't put too much into the property from a value and cost standpoint. And then you have to know what it will sell for. What is the realistic price? Those are the three important variables. I've met many investors who've done really well, even in this current market, like Mike said, with fix and flip. But I've met some people who've actually done very poorly and ended up having to keep the property for a rental. Some who've lost the property through foreclosure, just a variety of situations. And so, yeah, I think your point, Craig, is, interest rates do matter. Obviously, that is an additional cost. Labor costs matter as well. I really just sharpening the pencil to be sure you look at your numbers correctly, to analyze each deal. And again, finding stuff off market. There's a lot of people that are not on MLS or don't go the traditional way of selling a home. Your agent, our job is to help you find those, help you find that property, not just log onto our computer and go onto MLS and say, hey, here's a house. We may have to door knock for you. We may have to network with all the different brokers. We may have to send letters. A lot of those things my good agents are doing to find the fix and flips.
Yeah, I would say ask anyone who's done 10, flips in their lifetime. They're probably going to tell you that not everyone made money, right?
Yeah.
The goal is that, hopefully 7 or 8 of them make money, and you're going to have 2 that either broke even or probably cost you money at the end of the day. You made money because you got more making money than losing money. But if you're the person that, started your first flip and you ended up breaking even or losing money on it, that's not necessarily the norm. And if you ended up making a bunch of money on your first one, again, that's also kind of not the norm. So it is kind of a number when you look at that. And sometimes when you get these houses, you never know what you're going to run into, and you might come up with a surprise. It's like, hey, there's an issue there that now we got to pay additional money to fix that we didn't know about going into it.
Yeah, grateful for Jim Tobias with Structure Tech joining us today. Again, we've got a group of really trusted, well-respected, customer-focused partners at mnrealestateshow.com. These are people that our team, the Minnesota Real Estate team, we've worked with for a very long time. The reason we work with them is because they're focused on the best interest of you as the customer. Honored to work with Structure Tech, Ruben, yourself, Jim. Jim, thanks for coming on air today.
It was interesting hearing you talk about the steps or the qualifications deciding on buying a property. And I can picture all the homes that I go into. Probably maybe once a week, I'll see a home that was very likely purchased to flip. And I think that's kind of a unfortunate word to use for it, but to invest in and then resell. And I can walk through and kind of draw a line and say, this is where they stop spending.
Yeah.
And that's fine. They came in, they put money into making the home better, make improvements so that it would be more desirable for somebody to purchase, but they can't do everything.
Yeah.
And there are certain areas in which they say there's not a lot of investment for me there, and it's up to the next owner to do it, and that's fine.
Yeah. So Jim Tobias, Structure Tech, working with a lot of buyers all over the Twin Cities. Again, Structure Tech is really wherever you're listening to the show today. Structure Tech works in your area. You're working a lot with first-time buyers.
A lot of first time.
How has that been? Talk about that a little bit.
No, it's great. I come from a background unrelated to trades, construction, that business. So I always feel very, very comfortable talking to new buyers, walking them through the operation, the function of a home, why certain things matter, and then also really helping them understand why some things, not that they don't matter, but they're just part of ownership. There's just certain things that every home has that needs to be maintained and repaired or replaced. And if you don't draw that distinction between, it's overwhelming. So if you're a new buyer and somebody says, here, I got a report for you, it's 40 pages, and you don't get any context, you don't get any, kind of prioritizing, it's a lot to handle. And I think that helping people understand this will be very problematic for you and how you live in the house. And this is something that you can do to make an improvement.
Yeah, we're going to continue the discussion with Jim Tobias, Structure Tech. Before we take a break, though, I wanted to give a shout out to my friend, Miss Melissa Martinez, awesome agent on the Minnesota Real Estate team. She's got one listed in Richfield, 7441 Bryant Avenue South in Richfield. And it's a beautifully updated 3-bed, 2-bath Rambler. It's got a very quiet neighborhood, close to local shops, restaurants, parks. It's a perfect starter home. Mike, you'll like this. The Dairy Queen is only 2 blocks away.
Oh yeah, give me a cookie dough blizzard stat.
2 blocks away for those leisure summer strolls. And they're doing an open house. Melissa's going to be out there today from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. for that open house. So right after the show here, 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Address again is 7441 Bryant Avenue South in Richfield. Be sure to check that one out. That is brand new on the market. Folks, this is the Minnesota Real Estate Show. We're at WCCO, downtown Minneapolis. Always welcome your questions, comments, thoughts. 612-294-6949. We'll be back after the break. Thanks for tuning in, folks. Pete was commenting, saying about the rentals. He said, "My all-cash investors are buying. Current mortgage rates are not a concern for them." Yeah, there's people like that too, Mike, Jim. That the cash folks maybe coming in buying stuff.
Yeah. Well, even on a flip, if you look at a flip, the financing you're carrying on that is it's short term, right? So I'm going to buy this thing. I'm going to take 90 days to rehab this property. Let's get it on the market. Let's get it sold. Hopefully we're out of it within 120 to 150 days. So if you're going to get 8% on an interest rate on a flip loan, does that really matter? You're only going to carry it for 4 or 5 months? Nah, not really.
Yeah.
You got some closing costs to close on it. That's really where you want to try to limit it, is the closing costs. But the actual interest you're going to pay for 4 or 5 months is kind of peanuts in the grand scheme of things.
Jim, what do you see as maybe kind of a number one issue in like inspections? Is there something that's like a reoccurring thing, like you go through it and almost every seller, there's something wrong with it? I mean, is there anything like, I've always wondered that with inspections. Is there something you're like, oh my gosh, here we go, we got this?
So the number one factor or dynamic that gets brought up over and over again, whether it's the outside of the home, the inside of the home, it's all water. If there's something that's going to be problematic, that's going to property, some situations create health and safety concerns. We get asked about mold quite a bit, and I always say that I'm not there to test the mold or tell you, what's the air quality, but I can definitely tell you why it's there. I can tell you why there might be humidity or water control issues in the home, outside of the home, and that's every property, no matter where you live in the state. There's something that you could probably be doing a little bit better.
Yeah.
When homes are built, they're built with one main system for management, and that is gravity. All the grade, everything surrounding the property should pitch and move away from the home.
Yeah.
And then you got different things you can add to, better protect the home, but it's always water. I always tease people before they show up. I'm like, you're going to hear me say water management 50 times. That's enough.
Water management.
Water management.
Really?
That's if you're doing a good job controlling moisture, most of the systems are going to last their expected, service life. And then after that, it's just functionality. We will say, water's the hardest on a property, and then it's people.
Yeah.
Or kids.
Or pets.
Pets can be hard too.
Pets can be hard. Too. We did have another comment come in just asking about interest rates on new construction. Comparatively, are we seeing any difference there, Mike? You hear anything with that, with builders, buy downs and things?
So there's buy downs all over the place with builders. I mean, that's how you make a home more affordable, right? And I've done this comparison, and I should almost see if I can pull this up and show you guys this comparison. I'll actually do it, over our next break here. But what's better? So if a builder says, look, I'll give you $20,000 off the house, or I'll give you $20,000 to buy a rate down, which one is better? Right? It's like you're getting a $20,000 incentive either way, but which one is better?
Sure.
We'll talk about that a little bit more on the air. I'll actually bring up a flyer. You're going to be like, I didn't know it was that big of a difference. One is clearly better than the other, and I'll show you why.
Jim, with Structure Tech, you guys, are you working a certain part of the Twin Cities? You all over the place?
Everywhere. So yesterday I was in Lake Elmo, then to Shoreview. I was in Shorewood. Wherever there's an inspection.
So go on both sides of the cities.
Ideally we keep them close together the day of, but from one day to the next, you can go and crisscross all over the Twin
How
Cities.
long for each inspection? Generally?
Generally it's 4 hours. So that's your that's your basic, traditional size home. If you get, to some of the larger properties, which I was in one yesterday, it was 6 hours.
Okay. Oh boy. Here we go. We're going back live on air. Thanks for tuning in. You got questions, comments, topics? Don't hesitate to comment on the stream. We're happy to take your questions. Hey, welcome back to the second half of the Minnesota Real Estate Show. Hope your Saturday is going well, CCO listeners. We're grateful for you tuning in. We welcome your questions by phone or text to 612-294-6949. Talking with our friend Jim Tobias with Structure Tech, great company, awesome people, Ruben and team, really well known in the real estate market. And I would say the reason I've learned about you guys over the years is about all of the informational things that you do in the community, really with no side objective. Articles in the Star Tribune I would read, different posts I'd see online, social media. You guys are about providing information to people to help them.
Yep, correct. We say that we're educators in our field, and that doesn't mean that somebody's going to show up to a property and I'm going to school you, on your house. It's, the idea is know why things matter, know why it's important for them to, perform the way they're designed to perform. Because if they don't, it's going to, frustrate your day-to-day life. It's going to cost you money. And we all want to be able to walk in comfortably to our house and just enjoy the home, but you got to participate with it to get it to, do that.
Jim, you were just saying the average inspection takes 4 hours, average home inspection. Maybe talk a little bit, any tips or best practices for buyers or for sellers, some things that you're seeing in our current market here in the Twin Cities.
Yeah, for sure. Every era's got certain things that were done, and through education, through wear and tear, just learning about it, they stopped doing certain things. So if you're buying a home, pre-1920, there are certain electrical and plumbing things that home has that may need to be removed or replaced, repaired, updated. Same with, the 40s through the 60s, 70s through the 90s, 90s through the 2000s. There's always things to kind of know about. And a lot of times agents, at least the ones that I work with, they're great at that. Great at telling their buyer, hey, if you're going to buy something in the, Kenwood neighborhood, it's a beautiful big house. Take a look at those efficiency bills. Find out if there's room for improvement when it comes to heating and cooling. If you're looking at, something in the 80s, there might be windows, that are going to be a major factor, because at that point, a 40-plus-year-old window, that's a good service life. So
have you seen my house?
I have not.
Your ears were tickling about windows, but you're right.
But it's, there's always certain areas of home that are known for certain things, and that doesn't mean that the home is bad. It doesn't mean that the builder did anything wrong. It's just, hey, they do it this way now because it's more successful. And I think some home buyers, they look at that information, they think they found a bad house. So you didn't find a bad house. You just found a house that needs that fixed.
Yeah, really good points. Mike, I know you got some good stats here. We were talking about builders. Are they doing rate buy downs? And you have some interesting stats to share regarding interest rate buy downs.
Yeah, so here's the scenario. You got a house listed at $532,000, let's say, brand new construction house. Builder says, look, I'll give you $32,000 off the price, or you can take the $32,000, you can buy your rate down with it. Which one do you want to do?
So take it in price, a lower price,
Right. So
or an interest rate buy down.
Yep.
Okay.
So you can either buy the house from me for $500,000 flat then, because I'll take $32,000 off the price, or you can still buy it from me for $532,000, but I'll give you $32,000 back, and you can apply it towards an interest rate buy down. Right. So which one is better? So the crazy thing is that if you take it off the price, and I'm comparing a 7.25% interest rate. So if you take it off the price, it'd be a $500,000 priced home at a 7.25% interest rate. Your payment there is $2,728. Okay, $2,728, and your interest paid over the life of the loan is $582,000.
Okay.
Okay. If you took that same $32,000 and bought your interest rate down, and let's say you could get your interest rate down to 4.99 money. Okay. Well, now your payment is $2,281 versus $2,728. Okay, so it's about $450 less in the payment. The amount of interest you pay over the life of that loan is $395,000 versus $582,000.
Wow.
So it just shows the power of the interest rate. That same $32,000 either saves you $32,000 on one end, or it's going to save you, about $170,000 worth of interest on the other end. Which one do you want to do?
Yeah.
Something like that, I imagine people are trying to decide, is this a long-term home for me? something that I'm going to, get the reward of having that lower interest rate for the next 20 years, or I'm gonna be here for 4, and then I'm gone.
Yep. Yeah, so that the time, there's always a time factor, and it's a great point. There's always a time factor when it comes into this. So the longer you stay in that house, the more and more that lower interest rate will benefit you. If it's going to be a shorter term play, then you might start looking at just taking the price reduction, because you won't be there long enough to realize all the savings that you'll get through that lower interest rate over time.
Yeah, again, 612-294-6949 is how you can join us. Had a comment come in saying, I'm needing to evict a tenant. Is this something that I can do on my own? That's a really good question. Evicting a tenant, obviously you have to evict someone if they are unwilling to move. It doesn't just mean that they're behind in rent. I know some landlords, I've seen situations where they maybe are behind on rent and the tenant is willing to move out of the home. Obviously, you got to evict if they're not willing to. My advice would be to have an attorney help you through that process. We do, actually, with our show, we've got a great attorney, Matt Engel. That's almost all that he does are evictions. And there's a lot of specific things with that need to happen. You can imagine there's a lot of timelines, deadlines, different things. You absolutely, you could do it on your own. You could hire someone to do it. My advice would be, I guess, to have someone do that for you, Mike.
Yeah, same way. It's like I can go buy a cow and butcher it and make my own steaks and my own burgers, but I certainly don't want to do that myself. I will gladly hire a butcher to do that for me.
Yeah, sorry to hear about the evictions, though. That is no fun. Again, we're talking a little bit with Jim Tobias, Structure Tech. You're all over the Twin Cities. You're working all over the Twin Cities, 4-hour inspections each. Are you seeing more activity, more purchase agreements have home inspections, like compared to last year even?
Yeah, absolutely. So the one thing that I've seen this year more so than any year before 2020, I mean 2020, everything the first couple of years after that, it's such an anomaly. It's kind of hard to understand exactly, how the climate of the sales and everything was going. But this year, that balance that you were talking about, there's more balance. I hear we can talk to the seller about that. We can at least go back to them and have a conversation, where for years it was, no, there's not going to be a conversation. This is your house, take it or leave it. And I try to approach the inspection that way, because I'm not there to give somebody a list of, hey, go to the seller and ask them to fix all this. It's not what we do. This is your home. These are your chores or your tasks. But it is nice to know that there's at least a conversation to be had, that they can, go back and say, there's a pretty serious safety, issue, and we'd like to, have this corrected, or at least have a conversation about it. But the timing too, for months or even a year, was 3-day inspection periods. I'm hearing more 5 again.
Yeah.
Which gives people a little bit of time to kind of, breathe in.
Yeah, we got another very nice listing. Just wanted to hit on before the break. Jesse Grumdahl, great agent with the Minnesota real estate team and RE/MAX Advantage Plus, has one for $975,000. Address is 11582 County Road 13 Southeast. 11582 County Road 13 Southeast. How about this house? My gosh, 7 bedrooms, 5 bathrooms, almost 4,400 square feet. 6 acres, 5.9 acre lot, and it's got a 65 by 40 heated shop with full living quarters, a 6-car garage. Wow. And it does have a pool. People are loving their pools now here again, post-COVID. It's got an in-ground pool with a pool house and sauna. Mike, you looking at the pictures there? How does that one look?
Well, what city is it in? Does it say what city it is?
This is 11582 County Road 13 Southeast. County Road 13 Southeast for $975.
Oh yeah, I was able to pull a picture. Yeah, this is nice. I'm just in the kitchen area, and I would eat breakfast in this one for sure.
You definitely want to get that inspected though.
Yeah. Hey, we'll be back. We'll be back after the break here. Appreciate you joining us on WCCO 612-294-6949.
Questions or comments about
Thanks for joining us on social. A lot going on, a lot to talk about today. Yanti, good morning, says hello to us here. Jim, what do you think moving forward? Do you think this is going to be still a continued busier time for home inspections?
Yeah, I do. So normally January, February are quiet. Makes sense. It's colder. Not as much inventory because people are kind of locked into, that time of their life, school year. Holidays just kind of finishing up. I think people also are a little spend cautious, right after the holidays. But we had, for me, I guess personally, it was the busiest January I think I might have ever had.
Wow.
February and March, likewise, they couldn't have really been any busier. And April's already trended that way too. So if it at least stays in, then we will be as busy as we can be. If it gets any busier, then we'll be turning business away. So that part is it's a good sign.
Well, one thing I've noticed on purchase agreements, it's kind of like seen it trending a little bit more, is when a buyer makes an offer to a seller, they'll say, look, we still want to get a home inspection done. It's going to be contingent upon a home inspection, but we're not going to come back to you for the nickel and dime stuff.
Sure.
We're not going to come back for an outlet that needs to be replaced or a light bulb or something. It's like only major stuff that comes up is what we're going to come back to you for.
No, and I would say anybody buying a home should expect that those are their projects.
Yeah.
They should.
Especially if it's 1980s.
Especially if it's 1980s. You should expect every window needs to be replaced.
Hey, let's go back to the 80s. Should we go back to the 80s? Anybody thoughts on that? Going back to the 80s? 80s. It is so. Yeah.
So here's the thing. Going back to the 80s. So if you go back to the 80s, you got to remember no internet.
Very true. No internet.
Could you go back to the 80s the way it was with no internet? Could you not?
Yeah.
I think I could.
I
You think you
could.
I think I could.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Think of all the benefits of no internet,
Yeah.
no social, a different time, different time, no cell phone like this that we're attached to.
Yeah.
I would miss the convenience of fantasy football. the internet, that's they just do all the work for you. You just check boxes instead of
True.
writing things down and having to call your friend and say, no, change that.
From a showing standpoint, so when I started in the business in 2003, again, all of our showings had to be done. Now we use something called Showing Time. As fellow agents, we know you just go online, you click a couple buttons, and you set up a showing. Before, again, having to call people, hey, this is Ryan, calling to set up a showing, such and such. You're calling to the front desk. They're taking all the notes. Say it's Edina Realty, take the notes down. Then they got to call you back. You're printing out the sheet. You're using a map book. Different deal.
Oh yeah.
You don't know if there's multiple offers because you got to call the agent. Actually, call them and hey, I'm showing your house.
Is it one of those things too, where like when you have an offer, are you driving it to the house, right?
A lot of that. A lot of physically driving to
hand an offer off to a seller or a listing agent.
Think of that now. I mean, a lot of people don't even see each other as agents or
No. And
I mean, so someone in Arizona moving here to Minnesota to buy a house, your agent can do a virtual showing with you. You can look at pictures online.
Yeah.
You can electronically sign everything. I mean, you could literally buy a house and not even physically be at it. And that's actually fairly common in today's world. So
yeah, we're going back live on air here on CCO. Final segment. Thanks for joining us. We've had Jim Tobias with us in studio today. Thank you. Thanks all for joining us. Hey, welcome back to the last segment of the Minnesota Real Estate Show. Had a question come in asking where that listing was. That's in Watertown, the one we just talked about, the 11582 County Road 13 in Watertown, Minnesota. Very nice property indeed. Had a fun show today. I do want to give a shout out. Scott is not in studio, as you can tell. But I did want to congratulate him and his family on the wedding of his oldest daughter, Jordan. So Jordan, just a wonderful gal. She is getting married today down in Arizona. James, just a great guy there. So Scott is preparing his his speech, father of the bride speech. So we certainly miss him, but we congratulate the whole family, Mike. It's a big day for them. Really excited for their family.
It is a big day, and I hope someone records his speech because I guarantee you that is going to be like a classic.
Yes.
It's going to be a classic speech. I want to hear that thing.
Yeah, a lot of good stuff. Jim, before I forget, so people want to connect fellow agents, brokers watching or listening, people on CCO. Best way for people to connect with Structure Tech, and how does that process normally
Sure.
work?
Our website is very interactive, very user-friendly. There's pricing on there. There's a ton of information on the different services that we provide. So structuretech.com. I mean, as soon as you type in structure, I think, Google pretty much auto-fills you right to us. So
Yeah.
lot of good information there. And you can book online. You can go right there and book. My email is jim@structuretech.com. So if you ever had a question, you wanted to reach out to somebody, I get that a fair amount where people are out there looking at a home and they see just one thing and they might be concerned about it. They think it could be problematic, and they'll snap a picture and reach out. And that's through, agents that work with them say, hey, just send that over to Jim. He'll help you out. So we do stuff like that, and it could save you from maybe just saying, I don't want that house. You move on to the next one. But oftentimes it's like, yeah, that's normal. That's part of the blank system, and it's fine.
Hey, I'm not going to let you go without mentioning this. We were talking before the show. Your dear wife is a hospice nurse, and I said, what a wonderful type of person to marry. I'm sure very caring, empathetic. That is, that's pretty special.
No, it is. She, and we were talking about this just before the show. She's got the right personality, intelligence, demeanor to be able to handle the important part of her job, which is the medical part of her job. There's somebody there that needs care, assistance, comfort. They need to be, medicated the right way, pain. And then you also have the emotional part of all the friends and family around them. And she's very gifted at being able to deal with both. So yeah, very, very good person.
God bless our nurses, all in the medical field. Our teachers, by the way, my brother Tom, longtime teacher. My dear mother, longtime teacher. We need to pay our teachers more. They're working so hard, and our all of our firefighters and police officers as well, Mike. That's I don't know, just doing a lot for our communities.
Takes a special person to do all those things. It's something that I would not be able to do. Those are the fields that I wouldn't be able to go into. It definitely takes a special person to excel at that. And absolutely, thanks for everyone.
Yeah, again, Jim, great job today on your debut. We're going to invite you back again, more so. Instead of Ruben, if Ruben wants to come, we're going to say, we want Jim.
No, I appreciate that. This is a lot of fun. Obviously, the first time, got to feel it out, get it, understand the flow, the pacing of it. And I very much enjoy coming back.
Yeah, great job. Again, Structure Tech is how to connect, structuretech.com. Really good people, wonderful company. Mike, last thoughts here before we part for the day?
Feel free to reach out to us. It's still, like Ryan said, the activity this year, it's up from last year. So, you hear these numbers like listings are up, but pending sales are down. And you hear interest rates are like wobbling back and forth and kind of going up and not down a little bit. It's still a good market, right? After everything is said and done, if you boil it down, still a very good market for both buyers and sellers right now. So reach out to us if you got questions. We're here to help. Whether it's an agent on Ryan's team or whether it's, someone on my team to help on the mortgage side of things, or whether it's something for Jim and his team over at Structure Tech on the home inspection side of things, we're here to help.
Yeah, plug in with Luminate. Again, Luminate, a local company. Mike and his team have been a longtime partner with our radio show. The bank here as well, Luminate Bank, really good people, great folks when it comes to pricing, rates, fees, and most importantly, service, providing outstanding service for you, our listeners. So with that, we're going to sign off. We do appreciate it. mnrealestateshow.com. You're a buyer, seller, investor. You have questions. Know we're here to be a resource, and we're happy to help however we can. I hope everybody has a great Saturday. We'll be back. Take care. Thanks for joining us, folks. Mark says, I have a condo for sale in Roseville, 3155 Old Highway V8. Not many people looking at it. What should I do? Feel free to, Mark, you can, if you want to email me information on it, it's just ryan@mnrealestateteam.com. I can spread the word with our team. Happy to spread the word to fellow agents, brokers as well. Help you get a little more, a few more eyeballs on it. I'm happy to do that. Yeah, so don't hesitate to reach out from that perspective. Nice job, guys.
Yeah, this was fun.
So we going back to the 80s or what?
Go back to these.
I'd be fine with that.
Dennis, you want to go back to the 80s?
I'm gonna try. The 80s are lost with me.
My
70s
oldest-
maybe.
70s maybe. 70s.
My oldest was listening to Queen as I
Ooh.
was leaving this morning, and she said, "Is there a better guitar player than Queen?" I said, "Well, yeah."
Yeah.
But as far as frontman,
Yeah,
No.
I know.
Yeah, no.
Freddie Mercury. Yeah, Freddie Mercury. It's hey, thanks, folks. We'll be back again next Saturday, 10 to 11. I appreciate you joining us on social media. You got any questions during the week? Reach out. We'll be back again next week. Take care, everybody.